Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you, Misha. Long time. Nice to see all of you, actually. We'll just wait a few moments, then we'll do a little meet and greet. Hi, Mary. Thank you for being Mission Dharma. Appreciate all that you did to make this possible tonight. In the meantime, please feel free to rest your weary minds in what one of my favorite teachers, Noshul Ken Rinpoche, calls rest your weary mind in natural great peace. So remembering that peace is natural, that it is natural to us, and we can rest in the natural peace and ease that is the natural peace and ease. So let's just do that for a few moments as people drift in. Anyway, for the next few minutes, I'd like to invite as many of you as are willing to have your cameras on, and feel free to unmute and say good evening to each other. And perhaps you can say where you're calling in from. And just so we hear each other's voices a little bit and it doesn't feel like dead space. Anyway, nice to see all of you, but not all at once.
Hi, from San Francisco.
Hello, that sounded like Stephanie.
Yes.
Hi, Stephanie.
Katie from San Francisco.
Hey, Katie. Welcome.
Hi, David from Connecticut.
Hi, David from Connecticut.
Eugene from San Francisco.
Hey, Eugene.
Laura from Maryland. Hello.
Hello, Laura.
Eve
Late
from
night
San
in.
Francisco.
Mark in San Francisco, good to see you. Thank you for being there.
Hey, Mark.
Howie from San Francisco.
I didn't hear the name, but I love hearing San Francisco.
Bhavani. Yeah.
Hi, Bhavani. Oh, now I see you. Nice to see your face.
Hi, everybody. Ken from Palm Springs.
Hey, Ken. Welcome.
Mary from Santa Barbara.
Hi.
Hi, Mary. Hi, Ajala. Really good to see you.
Why is
Hi
Mary,
there, it's Ken from Edmonton, Canada.
Hey, Ken.
why is Mary in a car?
I'm not in a call. Oh, other Mary. Okay, sorry.
Greetings from the Trader Joe's parking lot in Oakland.
That's great.
In Arizona.
Hi, Jen in Arizona.
Dan in San Rafael. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Dan. Good to see you.
John in Colorado.
Hi, John.
Jason in Connecticut.
Hello, Jason. Oh, we have a lot of East Coasters tonight, and appreciate you being up late. Maybe it's
Leith
not.
from Edmonton.
Hey, Leith, right. Anyway, looking forward to Edmonton on September 6th. So, anyway, glad you're all here, and I think we all need the balance of sitting quietly together. World's a little bit on tilt. Won't get into the details tonight, but needless to say, I think the way to accommodate what for many people is a traumatic time, unsettling time, is to remember that we have that natural great peace and ease that is the natural peace of our nature, and we simply have to wake up to where we are, stay here for a while. And I don't know anything that allows us to connect with the present moment and stay here a while. I don't think anything helps us more than practicing together. So I'm really appreciative that you're here, and now it's all we have to do together is just stop our preoccupation with what's next, with yesterday, with what will happen. Lots of anticipatory anxiety right now, but we can let go of all of that moment by moment by letting our eyes close softly. Just even in the first moments, feeling the seclusion of the eyes closed, and the likelihood that you're immediately feeling not the idea of your body, but the felt sense of your body from the inside. It's not really even a body, it's the experience of elements of earth, air, fire, water, of aliveness, of vibration. Just let that fill your awareness, and let your awareness fill your body. And notice that the world has not changed at all, but maybe you have. That just putting your mind and body together now, you may get the fragrance or the whiff of a calm abiding. Not because you calmed your body or calmed your mind, but because you brought your attention into the living present. That you let go of the imagined past, the imagined future. And each moment of putting your attention in your body, feeling it breathe, is a moment of letting go of past, future, even ideas of the present. Just letting go of the conceptual mind and entering into the felt experience of life just as it is. And if you stay here long enough, you'll notice that your body is breathing. And the breath is like waves. And as we connect and sustain our attention to these waves, it has the very same soothing effect of sitting by the sea and watching the waves come in and out. We give ourselves a relaxed view as though we're just there to notice the waves, to take in the nature as it manifests in our bodies. Just this breath, just this moment. Nothing else to do right now, or undo, or fix, or figure out, or solve. Just staying here as long as it lasts. And the only adjustments we make is to the quality of our attention so that it is welcoming, completely receptive, that's kind and interested and relaxed. We graciously receive the sensations of breath, graciously receive the sensations of our sitting body, graciously receiving sounds and moods and thoughts and images, all part of our human experience that we turn toward with our practice. We make no effort to delete anything. We're just open to life. And let go into the changing conditions. Just this moment. Just this breath, or whatever is predominant. We welcome it. We incline toward continuous mindful attention. But even with that intention, sometimes mindfulness, just because of conditioning, goes offline and we become lost in thought. And then mindfulness comes back online and we realize, I'm here. So at that moment, we don't judge that condition of mindlessness. We just appreciate the re-arising of mindfulness, of it coming back online. And we use that opportunity to relax and to very gently put our mind back together with our body. Put the puppy back on the paper. And just intimately enjoy the body's experience of its own breath and sense experience. And we maintain continuity of mindfulness as long as it lasts. Knowing that again and again we will go offline and come back online. So be easy. Just this moment. The only destination of mindfulness is this present moment and being aware of the presently arising sense experience. There's no other destination. And because of that, every moment is a new beginning, is fresh. So if you find yourself sinking into dullness, just refresh yourself and begin again. If you find yourself resisting, contentious, tight, relax. Notice that. Begin again. Every moment a new beginning. You've already arrived at the vital point of our practice, which is here. Just this moment, just this breath, or whatever is predominant. Just noticing. Just settling back into the moment. When you hear the sound of the gong, just be aware of hearing. Noticing how the sound arises and fades away. When the sounds have passed and you're ready to open your eyes, be aware of that impulse, the intention to open the eyes, the experience of opening your eyes, the experience of the arising of outer sight, of seeing. And then noticing any other movements that you make. So the practice continues continuously. No moment of mindful attention more important than any other. Everything included. Seeing you when I open my eyes is a treat. Have to admit tonight a little surprising. Moments when I forgot exactly where I was. But happy to see you and happy to hear what's happening in your practice. Maybe any questions, comments, descriptions, topics that emerge from our practice tonight or in your life. We'll spend a few minutes. Feel free to use the raised hand function in reactions and know that your comment or question or topic may be of some use to someone else. So, Anne, please feel free. Thanks for breaking the ice.
When you were talking about every moment is a new beginning, every beginning is a new moment, I was thinking, I can live like that. Okay. But wait, if every moment is a new beginning, there won't be anything to end. And if I do nothing but begin for the rest of my life, I'll never end anything. I'll never accomplish anything. And then I thought, okay, this is life. This is
what we call papancha, or proliferation of thought too.
Anyway,
and so for you, maybe it's better to just remove the word beginning and remove the word ending. And then
okay. Every moment is new.
Yeah, every moment is just as it is. And that's the point of all that, that pointing to the function of mindfulness, which is just to know what's happening right now.
Okay, got it. Every moment is new. I like that. Thanks.
Thank you. Good to see you.
You too.
Anyone else? David, please feel free.
Hi, Howie. I had a question about the instruction that I've heard from other teachers to watch your thoughts. And one of the things that I've found is as soon as I become aware that I'm thinking, my thoughts stop and suddenly they really aren't being seen because they've just kind of vanished.
No, they are being seen. You're actually seeing their nature, which is completely vaporous, that they don't exist as a thing or a place. They're dreamscapes. And so that part of the value of noticing the thinking mind is you actually have insight into their nature. They're completely evanescent, completely empty, insubstantial, not worthy of all the power that's given to them. So making that, I would say that the biggest liberating shift in meditation is from just being carried along by the stream of thinking, lost in it, to noticing it, and then seeing that all thoughts are not continuous. They have what we call discontinuity, and that's actually insight into the nature. And one of the things that we realize as we go along in the practice, that thoughts are no different than sounds, smells, tastes, sensations. They're all just coming and going and have no real substance to them. And so hopefully that informs us in all cases to just let go into the nature of change. So you're on the right track. Don't try to hold anything.
Thanks, Howie.
Pleasure. So you don't even realize we're having insights and wisdom arise. Mary, please feel free.
Hi, Howie. Well, I guess I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room.
Are you sure? What is the elephant in the room?
Well, I think it's a stressful time right now for people in the world, in this country. And, it's a very nice time here where I'm at. We're having sort of a late spring and everything's blooming. And, so you kind of like, oh, look at that jacaranda tree. And you're like so happy in your little world, your little. And I think this is important, to be in the moment, to have the bigger picture of things, but at the same time, I think probably a lot of us are dealing with a bigger picture, which, it's kind of like, we meditate, but then we also have to do the laundry too, it's kind of, it really is a balancing act. And I liked what you said a lot, because I feel like I'm always kind of in the last few years trying to balance these things. And I like what you said, and the fact that just stay here as long as you can, kind of thing. I don't think I could deal at all with the things going on if I didn't meditate. But at the same time, I think it is important to be a responsible citizen and to know what's going on and do what you can, however little or much. And I think it's been a stressful time for people for quite a few years now. I think we're under this sort of undercurrent stress. And so I'm very grateful for the meditation, but I'm always sort of trying to balance these things.
Yes. Yeah. All of my noodling today was all about balancing, and what I try to mention at the beginning of every Tuesday is this is really just a balance, a place of peace and refuge in the middle of a sea of really difficult circumstances and situations. And so, and I'll stay on that theme tonight and hopefully speak a little bit more. We're all, we're all making this up as we go. We're all, what was the quote? All bozos on this bus. But the Dharma has a lot to offer.
Absolutely.
Of reminders of, and I think it's one of the greatest offerings that we can make, and what can actually fuel our own practice is to be an environment of sanity and peace for the people who live around us, who don't have the benefit of that internal refuge and maturity that comes through practice. So, and I know that you do, and so you can trust that a little bit. But during the sitting tonight, having naturally been thinking about maybe I'll save this for everyone, but I'm talking to you and everyone can hear. But a line that my mother's mantra, I know I've shared it on Tuesday night before, but it brought a smile to my face. And her mantra is, it could be worse.
No, that's true. That's true.
She's 98 years old and going blind and up a lot of the night with neuropathy and, you know, all kinds of things that are hard to bear.
Yeah.
Some of the things about aging, but her attitude, her way of meeting it, and it just shows how important it is to really attune to how it is that we're relating to this difficult world. As much as the difficult world, the suffering really is in how we deal with it. You know, there's the pain of everything, and there's just too many things to talk about, to enumerate. The most recent is the Supreme Court, or the trauma that many people experienced last week at the watching the debates, and the just the unfettered power of the presidency, and the clipping of the power of the executive branch to take care of us, and you know, so many things that are a cause of stress. It could be worse.
Yes.
It could be worse. And so anyway, also it's a little tongue in cheek, and hopefully it.
No, actually, I used to read a little storybook to my son called "It Could Be Worse." It was a great storybook.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate that, and I mean, I don't know how people survive a lot of stuff without having meditation, to be quite frank, because you know, it truly is a refuge. I feel that very strongly, but I just feel like it's kind of constantly balancing
Yes,
for a long time, and
and I truly believe that we resolve the world by resolving our own mind. You know, I rely a lot on the passage from Nisargadatta Maharaj, who said the world is the way it is because people are the way they are. As long as people are the way they are, the world will continue to be the way it is, as long as it continues. But if the heart of that passage is, if you want a peaceful world, you have to have peaceful people. It's not something that can be imposed on the world. It has to start with each of us. So just the fact that you show up here for yourself, for each other, is a little drop in the bucket of peace, which is what we need. Sanity. So it's a refuge of sanity. So thank you, Mary, for naming what's the elephant in the room.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we move on, please feel free. So I think I'll just launch in. Maybe we'll just take a little quiet space of 10 or 20 seconds so that we can just transition from the little dialoguing. I notice in my life frequently that whenever I have the benefit visually of a long view, where I can see in the distance, or I can see all around me, I notice that it has a very calming effect, that it leaves a residue of silence and peace. And when I experience that long view or that wide view, something happens where whatever I'm experiencing up to that point, or whatever my life situation is, it's somehow there's space for it. And I've heard it said, and I cannot I cannot remember who actually said it, but the quote was something to the effect of, the art of meditation is the art of making space. Is making space for whatever it is that we're experiencing. And in a way, that's what the function of mindfulness is. It has no other function. As I mentioned during the sitting tonight, its function isn't to solve any problems. Its function isn't to fix or figure out. It's non-conceptual. So in a way, it's kind of childlike, but the embedded in mindfulness is intuition and wisdom, but we don't even need to get into that. Just the act of making space, being aware of the presently arising experience, as opposed to being caught in it or caught in some kind of reaction to the present experience. Because mindfulness can't really coexist with the reactive mind. It's not possible to be reactive and mindful at the same time. The reactivity in our mind may seem persistent, and we could say, I'm aware of being reactive, but we're actually aware of the previous moment, in the moment that mindfulness arises. We're aware of just having been very reactive. And so mindfulness, in a sense, interrupts any moment of reactivity, any moment of greed where we're caught up in tension and want things to be other than the way they are, resistance, fear, aversion. When mindfulness rises, in a way, because it's considered a wholesome mental factor, it purifies the atmosphere. Whatever that previous moment is aerated, it's denuded. And consequently, mindfulness then creates this kind of space for you to feel reactive, feel desire, because you're constantly interrupting it with this space, the space of being aware. And in a way, every moment of mindfulness can be a moment of giving yourself a long view. Funny, whenever I visit a place I'm up in Canada right now, and I visit a place that's got both very tight spaces and then these very long views. And some people love and I love from time to time the feeling of being contained in a small space. But I notice that when the view is long, it reflects back to me that the natural spaciousness of mind, the natural fruit of giving myself over many, many years to just being aware. And having that just being aware be as continuous as possible, to the point where, especially if you spend years in silence, it becomes kind of a more of a default or natural state. And any one of us can do that. It is our natural state, but we just are habituated to leaving it. We're habituated to our reactive mind, and consequently don't realize that we have this, what one Tibetan teacher says, we have within us this sky-like nature to our mind. He says that's the whole, these Tibetans say that's the whole purpose of our practice, is to return ourselves to that sky-like nature of the mind that underlies the whole of everything that comes and goes, the whole of life and death and all our problems and all of our petty problems to the really big problems, that the nature of our mind transcends all of those, is wider and deeper than all of the ups and downs that we go through. And it exists in you as your natural state, but it is awakened in us through the habit of noticing. An aspect of that great sky-like nature is that capacity to notice the presently arising experience. And so when we talk about mindfulness, using it for this and that, and how good it is for this and that, its purpose, as the Buddha recommended in the Satipatthana Sutra and the sutra or teaching behind which came the whole mindfulness movement in the West, its purpose was to liberate the mind from the narrow view of the world, the narrow view of ourselves, the narrowness of our reactive mind. Because when you're in a state of really wanting something, it's as though we're in a tunnel, and our eye is on the prize, and we're focused on a future, which is imaginary, never really arrives. And everything else we actually don't see very well. We're just focused on that desire. And some desires are wholesome and useful. It's wonderful that we have focus. But if we live in a state of desire, and you could say that this whole world it feeds on our desire. It feeds on keeping us in a state of desire. And then we just kind of get numb, and then people who, the more clever, maybe not so wholesome types, tend to take over while we're busy shopping. There's a real power grab going on these days. But I don't want to get into that too much. But so grasping in the mind, unfettered, leads to a kind of narrowness. And the reaction that I have and everybody has to things that seem so unwholesome, it's so easy to get angry, frustrated, and to the point of having, wishing harm upon another, to things that actually narrow our view and cause us to feel more and more unhappy, even though there may be a momentary sense of relief to feel like we can do something harmful. It's misplaced faith in killing and misplaced faith in shopping. There's so much misplaced faith. But that greed in the mind and aversion in the mind, and then caught up in our own personal story in our mind, all of that deprives us of the sky-like nature of the mind. It deprives us of a long view. So to me, right now, it's a moment-to-moment thing. We're not going to solve all of the complex, intractable issues of our world. We work on them every day with all our hearts. It's a beautiful thing to respond to what you care about. But we're not necessarily going to fix the world, but we can, moment to moment, we can actually fix our minds. And we can make space. And we have to keep practicing because this is an evidence-based practice. It's not a blind faith based practice. It's not a faith based on belief, yeah, it's good for you. It's a faith that is verified based on what you actually experience. And so one has to get used to this practice of making space, of being mindful, of knowing what my mind is like as I meet the presently arising experience. To know that I'm aware, to know what I'm aware of, to be able to stay long enough to actually learn something about how insubstantial what I'm aware of is. But maybe more importantly, stay long enough to feel the healing power that exists as the nature of my own mind, that's so close to me, it's so in me as me. So giving room and sustaining practice enough, going on retreats, having your daily hygiene, have something that is either quieting your mind, and it could be just going out and mingling your mind with the sky, having a long view. It may be sitting down on your cushion. It may be doing yoga and carefully harmonizing your mind with your body. It may be just lifting your arms and lowering them, lifting your left arm, lifting your right arm, just something that keeps orienting you to real time. But all of these actions of infusing our mind stream with mindfulness, it actually helps us to stop the stream of distress. Not because we're trying to stop it, but because it stops if we're practicing mindfulness. And if you know that you're actually interrupting and stopping the habit of fear and worry and anticipation, that only leads to a kind of narrowness and tension. If you know that your simple acts of presence are making space and reducing your discursive thinking, not because you stopped them, but because you showed up here and stayed here in present time, then you start to have some evidence that in the midst of it all, there's peace. As Albert Camus, I'm not sure what his methodology was, other than I think he tired his mind out through thinking and reflection. But in his beautiful passage, he said, "My dear, in the midst of hate, I found there was within me an invincible love." In the midst of tears, I found there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I found there was within me an invincible calm. I realized through it all that in the midst of winter, I found that there was within me an invincible summer. And that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there's something stronger, something better pushing right back. So we all have to have the critical mass of our own evidence-based experience to know that what he's saying is true or not. And we never adopt that as a view. We want to see it for ourselves. That's the heart of the Buddha's teaching, is don't believe it. See for yourself. As I was reading that, I was reminded, it's because the prayer in this, the intention in this, is to free our mind and free the world from the forces that cause us moment to moment, and then cause us in the larger sense, the forces that cause us so much misery, greed, hatred, and delusion. It all starts in people's minds. And today I looked up the words of Marcus Garvey that were published in the Black Man magazine back in, I don't remember when, but it was his words that became the inspiration and the words that were incorporated into Bob Marley's song, Redemption Song. But these are the words of Marcus Garvey. He said, "We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because while others might free the body, none but ourselves can free our minds. The mind is the only sovereign, the only ruler. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be slave to the other man who uses his mind." And then Bob Marley going to emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. So the mind that is contracted, part of the confusion in the mind or delusion in the mind is we tend to catastrophize, we tend to assume what will happen because of what's happening. And it's important that that state of mind that's open is in some ways it's a state of faith. It's keeping the faith. It's not letting yourself succumb to fear and worry, and maintaining a kind of buoyancy. And one of the elements of a mind that is aware and open that we can get used to, cultivate, is the mind that when it's open, we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen next. We are, in a way, we stop being experts on how we think things will be. We can speculate, but if we're open and we know we're speculating, great. But if we're caught up in our speculations, in often worrying expectations, there's a shrinking, there's so much pain. And you've all probably heard the line from Mark Twain. He says, "I've had many difficulties in my life, most of which never happened." Because we make so much stuff up about how things will be. And we don't know. So the Zen version of awakening to the sky-like nature of the mind, to unfurling our mind, being just coming back to our natural state, is to cultivate a mind that doesn't know, otherwise known as don't know mind. Keeping, the Korean Zen master will hit you with the stick and say, "Keep don't know mind. Who are you? You think you know, you don't know. Keep don't know mind." Do everything with a mind that is open to discovery. That's liberation. And a liberated mind doesn't know. We only know what the presently arising experience is. Now, this kind of don't know, this kind of openness, this kind of sky-like nature, this in itself is not going to resolve the rise of authoritarianism in this world. But it might prevent us from compounding the stress of it all by assuming what will happen. And keeping the faith is realizing, because it's true, that anything can happen. There can be a complete turning of the wheel in a different direction. And what seems so unfortunate can often turn out to be the cause of something really useful and beneficial. And so it's really hard not to land in the view that something is just fundamentally bad. But try it on. Don't know. Seems that way, but don't know. Mary was wise enough during this time in her putting together the bulletin for this week, including the quote from Ajahn Chah, who said there are two kinds of suffering. There is the suffering you run away from, which follows you everywhere. And there's the suffering you face directly, and in doing so become free. So the suffering that you run away from is just falling into the reactive mind, the aversive mind. And it's the aversive mind that's tense, and that tension propels a lot more worry and discursive thinking, and makes us very dependent on getting away from things to find any kind of relief. Whereas second, there's suffering that you face directly when we actually bring that openness, bring that don't know mind, bring that sky-like nature, make space for the presently arising pain. Feel it, grieve, feel frustrated, feel sad, feel the loss, feel the fury, feel anything that is possible. With a mind that's open, it becomes workable. This is why the great ecstatic poet Rumi said, the cure for pain is in the pain. Said one dervish to another, what's your vision of the divine or God's presence? There's a fire on the left, a lovely stream on the right. Those who walk toward the stream end up in the fire. Those who walk into the fire end up in the sweet flowing water. He says, if you're a friend of the divine, or if you're a friend of God, fire is your water. You should wish to have 100,000 set of moth wings so you can burn them one set a night. It's so against our conditioning to just make space for the pain we're experiencing. And it's innocent because we just don't have the confidence that we can accommodate things, because we're so habituated to either numbing ourselves out or distracting or shopping or all things that we do out of love for ourselves, but they actually are that first kind of suffering, the kind that you run away from that ends up following you. But our practice, it's easier than you think, of learning how to make space. You'll see that any kind of suffering is momentary. It's all a changing condition. The work's grief comes in waves. It arises, it fades, it re-arises. but everything has discontinuity. Everything is marked by change. So you'll be okay. What looks like water burns. What looks like fire is a great relief to be inside, as Rumi puts it. So giving space, cultivating don't know mind, kind of letting ourselves come out of that tangle of obsessive worry, fear, and just finding balance, as Mary was speaking about before. The wisdom of change, the wisdom of a long view. And I guess I'll end with the words of Martin Luther King, who I'm sure most of you know this passage, but he says the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. And so, as far as the passage, it seems like a good night to emphasize, I do need some new material, but I have some good stuff that I've had for many years, and this has been good for as long as I've had it, and it's always a good reminder for me, and helps return me to a wider view. And that's the words of Carl Sagan when he described a picture that he saw of the Earth from 4 billion miles away, and from a photograph taken in 1990 by the Voyager aircraft. And he said in his passage, look at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species live there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner, how frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there's no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit, yes, settle, not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the earth is where we make our stand. It's been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. So may we all keep a wide view. May we all practice kindness. May we all get used to the natural peace and ease that is our natural peace. And practice don't know. Thanks for listening. May our practice be of benefit to everyone who has to live around us every day. Okay, Mary, I think you're off the hook. I'll just say thank you in advance for your generosity that allows us to keep practicing. I'm sure the information is given about how to practice dana, this beautiful system of mutual generosity is what's kept the teachings alive for thousands of years now, freely offered, so they are accessible to anyone, but dependent on your generosity if you can. So let's see what else. The retreat that we've been talking about, the one that's being offered by the Spirit Rock teachers who lead groups in San Francisco, that retreat I think is full now. I think the Labor Day retreat is full, the second one that I'll be on soon this summer. And then I think there's still space in the Founders Retreat, the retreat that I'll be leading with James Beres, and Sylvia Borstein and Jack Cornfield. That will be in early September, a shorter retreat, but please come one, come all. It should be fun. And in the meantime, every Tuesday night. And this month we have 5 Tuesdays, and there will be some very wonderful teachers substituting. Next week for back through popular demand is David Lewis, who everyone loves his Dharma, very accessible. And just a reminder that we do receive a lot from sitting together, but we also give a lot by showing up and supporting each other. So it's a two-way street, just like dana. It's one of the practices of dana to show up. So please be generous with your presence in the next weeks. Some I'll be here, some I won't. And lovely being with you tonight. And feel free to unmute and say goodnight to each other. Thanks again.